third floor here, Center Hall. And that hall was a place for a variety of public activities, and Lincoln spoke there. And it's kind of cool. Now, what was he doing talking there? Well, he had lost that election, and like many politicians who are now out of the spotlight because there's no electoral politics and they're not in office, how do you keep your name out there? Well, you go to lecture circuit, get your name out there. Lincoln's work on the lecture circuit was not one of the noblest episodes of his life. He essentially failed. He had a speech that was pretty good. The speech was called Inventions and Discoveries. And what it was the history of man inventing things. And it's a kind of a fun lecture. He starts off with a 19th century joke, which is, he says, man is inventive. When he finds himself as man, he must cover himself modestly, and he plucks a fig leaf and uses that for dress, Now that's really pretty funny, okay, for 1859, 1858. And in that, he talks about what are the challenges of technology and how they can better people's lives. And one that I think might resonate with us today is he says, here we are in the windswept prairies of Illinois, and think of the energy encompassed in that wind, and think what can happen when we are able to capture the energy of that wind and use it for some other purpose, as we have captured the energy of water by boiling it for steam to create locomotives. So he says, because that's steam pressure, wind pressure, he's making some very logical kinds of connections. And ahead of his time, of course, at that time, people are using some early windmills to pump water and whatnot, have been using windmills for different things, but he had a bigger idea in mind about what could happen with wind. So why was he doing that? His politics as a Whig had to do with his belief that one of the responsibilities of government was to encourage internal improvement. It was to encourage projects that could not be undertaken without government support that go to the economic prosperity of the people and the area in which they live. So he was a very strong believer in that. And it's a kind of politics that we still are engaged in today, because there's a lot of debate today, of course, about those same topics. And if you think where Lincoln was coming from, he'd be on a side that perhaps some of you might disagree with today, because he really did believe government spending can enhance economic prosperity. He was not a 100% free market guy. So that's one of his philosophical positions. And where does that come from, and how does that reflect in his presidency? You can look at two big things that came out of his presidency while he was fighting the Civil War. The first one was the Homestead Act, where he said a family can settle and claim 160 acres without pay as long as they farm it. So that was the government giving away government land to a person who could make wealth out of it, adding to the general prosperity of an area. Second big giveaway, free public education. Passed the Morrill Act, which created the land colleges, they call them the land colleges, which were universities, University of Illinois, University of Michigan, University of Iowa, University of Ohio, University of Indiana, all these Land Act schools funded by the sale of federal lands, swamp lands, and funded by other federal sources for the purpose of training people in the arts of agriculture as a scientific pursuit and the arts of industrial mechanics as a scientific pursuit. They were based on the idea of let's train people to do these core things that will make our communities better. And let's do them at public expense, and the public will be well paid back by what they then later contribute to society. So Lincoln's notion of public involvement was, I think, played out in some pretty profound ways. So we're going to finish this tour by going up onto the courthouse square and talk a little bit about then the war.